This video is going to be discussing a new Nightfall weapon that's going to be dropping as of today's reset. Before I get into that though, I just want to remind people, make sure you subscribe fast, because a lot of other people are, and I appreciate it. So getting on to the weapon in hand, it is a Stasis Vortex Frame Sword. This video is going to show you how to get the god roll fast, and what the god roll you should be chasing for in PvE. So the first thing you want to do at reset is struggle on with the servers, because maintenance is going to be 2 hours after reset time. So you're going to struggle on with that. You're going to go and make drinks and wait, and you're going to be in a queue and this sort of stuff. That's your first step. You're going to complain about it on the internet like me, and then get complained at for complaining about servers. That's your first step. Your second step's then going to get into the game, and you're going to play corrupted GM. Get platinum rating. You then get the Adept version of the sword. Right? That's your first goal. If it's a god roll, go and have fun, and that's it. If it's not a god roll, which probably isn't, you're then gonna go to the Legend Nightfall, Legend or Hero, up to you. The drop chances are lower on Hero, so it states, but it doesn't really matter. Just keep doing Legend or Hero Nightfalls until you get the standard version of the Slammer Sword. So you want the standard version and the Adept version. They're two different items in the game. You're going to get all that. You're then going to come to the tower, and you're going to be best in tower like this. If you're not best in tower, reload the tower, and then you will be best. At some point, you should get it. And then you're going to come to Zavala, and then you're going to look at focusing the weapons. The weapon that I'm talking about. So, for veteran players, you should have a stockpile of engrams. For newer players, I can understand why you don't have engrams, because you may be focusing, your stuff like pure poetry and stuff. You really want a good hand cannon like that. So you're focusing your pure poetries. You're focusing your prolonged engagements. So you maybe haven't got them. Veteran players, though, which is probably 70% of you, so it's the majority of you, should have engrams. And if you haven't, then you've been probably wasting the engrams. I haven't been saving them, I just haven't been spending them. But then 2 weeks prior to this, Slammer Sword was coming out. I was like, right, not spending any engrams at all, because I know what I'm doing to get the god roll fast. So now I've just said about the Adept version and the normal version. Right, well, you can focus both. Now, people are going to objectively say, well, no, you want to just farm the Adept version on GMs. I'm going to tell you why you don't really need to do that. So just come with me. Now, just imagine this linear fusion rifle was a sword. It's not, but just imagine it was. So, you've got boss spec, which is a 7.7% buff against vehicles and bosses. Major spec is a 7.7% increase to powerful enemies, otherwise known as orange bars and stuff. Right. Adept Big Ones is an Adept mod that gives you both boss spec and major spec together in one mod. It is not a damage increase, it is just a combination of two mods together. Now, with the recent change, this was it a few weeks ago, the boss spec mod now works on champions after a bazillion years. So, when you're solo, you only ever want to run boss spec anyways, and you don't really need a major spec anymore. We used to put major spec in our primaries to kill champs, etc. We don't do that now. You don't need to. Everything's boss spec. Everything's boss spec, even primaries. Let me show you a recent example. Okay, they're all backup mags. So I'm lying to you. Hey, look, see, my Buzzard had boss spec in it because I was using it on barriers. You use boss spec on everything now when you're solo, when you're up against champs and stuff. It's just how you play. So this invalidates Adept Big Ones anyways, because you just need a boss spec. So it doesn't matter if you don't get an Adept version of the sword. It doesn't matter. And if you're going to say, well, the Adept version looks different, well, you've got 900 shaders to shade the normal sword to look like the Adept sword. So you can just bamboozle people in LFG and say, look at my Adept sword. They might not even check it's Adept. Be like, oh, that's a decent roll. The thing about it is, if it's an Adept sword with a bad roll, a standard sword will always beat the Adept version if it's got roll. It's all about the roll. It's not about whether it's Adept or not. It doesn't matter. Because you're running boss spec in all your weapons nowadays anyways. You don't even run minor, you don't run major. Trust me, I'm not trolling you. That is the actual truth. So now that you understand that, you're then going to come to Zavala. You're going to focus your engrams. Now you can focus an Adept version, which costs you 10 ciphers, which you only have one stack of 10. I don't have any, so I won't be doing that. But if you do, go for it, fair enough. But if it's not a god roll, fair enough. It's going to cost you 5 engrams and a couple of glimmer for the standard version, and you can spam the engrams. So I'm going to be able to, I have a higher chance of getting that god roll within 14 minutes, don't I? Right? So what is the god roll? So once you focus on it, these are the god rolls. So on the screen should be the full perk columns of the sword. So remember, it's a Vortex Frame sword. So first column's your sword perks, like Endurance, Jagged Edge, Tempered Edge, all that sort of stuff. Let's just keep it simple. Jagged Edge is what you want, but if you don't get it, don't worry too much. It's like spike grenades on a GL. Very sort of similar to that. It's a nice thing to have, but if you don't get it, don't worry too much about it. But Jagged Edge is what you want objectively. Second column is Swordmaster's Guard. This increases your recharge rate on the sword. This is rather, you do want Swordmaster's Guard if you can help it. Seriously, it's something that you want to look into. So Swordmaster's Guard, a faster recharge rate is always nice. So you want that. Right. Although there is a chest piece mod that can assist that though, but that means you're losing resistance mods. But there is a chest mod that does that, isn't there? Now we're talking about it. Let me just see what the name is. I never use this mod. So here you got Loosened Blade. So you can actually run a Loosened Blade to counteract that, depending on what you're playing. Like low-end entry-level dungeons, you can put Loosened Blade on and stuff. So there is that. So if you don't get Swordmaster's Guard, it might not be the end of the world for you, but it's still something that you want to look at getting. So the two perk columns. Right. So the first column, you got Fresh, Chain Reaction, Pucky List, Eager Edge, Relentless Strikes, Attrition Orbs. Right. So the top 3 perks, you want to disregard all of them. Fresh, no. Chain Reaction, no. Pucky List, no. All of them, no. Don't comment saying that you want those. You might do, but I don't. You can have your roles, I can have my roles, but I can still recommend to people what they would use. Because what you need to understand with these god rolls is I'm literally giving you a real-world advice of what role I want, therefore portraying onto you what role that you should want in PvE. It's an objective outlook. You've got to be objective, because if everything was opinion-based, then we wouldn't get anywhere, would we? We'd be rocking chain reaction swords and not being able to solo one-phase bosses. And then people be like, I can't solo one-phase. Well, what sword are you running? Oh, well, I'm running this sword. It's got this chain reaction. All right, so no Relentless Strikes? No. Well, that's maybe part of your problem, isn't it? You've run out of ammo before you could kill boss. Oh, but I killed ads quicker. Well, you could have killed them with an incandescent primary. Hello, we have really good primaries in the game. Why are you using the sword fire player? So it's like, what are we doing? So I'm just portraying onto you the role that I'm going to chase and recommending it to you. You can take the advice. You can not do the advice. It's up to you. So those top 3 perks you don't want. So the only considerations are Eager Edge, Relentless Strikes, or Attrition Orbs. Eager Edge is for your speedrunners. I have an Eager Edge sword anyways, and we all have access to these. I've got one here. Do I need another Eager Edge sword? You can craft it as well. Both of those Days of Eternity swords are craftable with Eager Edge. So I'm not going to consider Eager Edge as a perk combination that I want. However, it is important to the game for people to run it. So if you want it, you can have it, but it's not what I'm recommending to you. Especially solo, because you're losing out on ammo if you run Eager Edge. You're losing out on surges if you run Eager Edge. Because the next perks, so Attrition Orbs, when you're getting sword hits, you'll get orbs off the boss. So imagine fighting a boss, you're doing damage, you're getting orbs while you're doing that. You're going to actually have an upkeep of surges, because the orbs are linked to surges. So you could increase the damage you're doing with Attrition Orbs. However, Relentless Strikes will give you more ammo back. So if the damage phase is long, you want Relentless Strikes. I think Relentless Strikes beat it for me, because the answer to the Attrition Orb thing is just to run more stacks of armor charge. I mean, if you run base with elemental time dilation, that's 45 seconds. Most damage phases aren't longer than 45 seconds, to be honest. But some are, though. Some are. Like the Ogre fighting Waller's Rune, that's longer than 45 seconds, but you wouldn't sword him anyways, but that's just an example. So I still would run Relentless Strikes. It would still win it for me. But I would take an Attrition Orb roll. So that's my perks, that's my recommendations on the first set. The second set is Bait and Switch, Demolitionist, Permeability, Collective Action, One for All, Cold Steel. So none of those perks are really good apart from only two. Cold Steel and Bait and Switch. Now, I'll talk about Cold Steel first. So Cold Steel's a rather unique perk. Think of it like Chill Clip on a sword, which is good, right? That's decent. Now, I've had a Dawn sword now for 2 years, and I have tested Cold Steel on and off, and it's kind of good and kind of not good. You're not getting any sort of damage buff, but it does synergize with Stasis. And you can freeze barrier champs, so you can turn your sword into Lament if you wish. So there is that. So I might be searching out a Cold Steel roll as well. So there's that. So I would say Cold Steel's okay, and it's got utility, but I don't think it's the best roll on it. The best roll is Bait and Switch, because Bait and Switch on swords, right, I believe to be a 35% buff. So it's 35%, right? And this is a new thing. This is a game changer. Now, Whirlwind Strikes is 30%, so this is 5% more than a Whirlwind Blade roll. For example, Fallen Guillotine, the Fallen Guillotines that we've been using. So it's not going to be that much more than a Guillotine, but it's going to edge it out because Whirlwind Blade does take time to ramp up, whereas Bait and Switch will be instant once you get your sticks with your Witherhoard or whatever you're using. So there is that. So I would still recommend as your ultimate damage roll, Jagged Edge, Relentless Strikes, and Bait and Switch, or Attrition Orbs in there to upkeep surges. And you're going to be able to put out massive damage, crazy damage with the sword. So that's my recommendations on it. It's got some origin traits as well, just the standard Nightfall origin traits that you would see. But yeah, that's literally what you would do to quickly get the God roll within minutes. And like I said, you don't have to be forced to get the Adept version. I don't know why people take so until they buff Adept weapons, which they do need to, I think. It doesn't matter all that much. You know, if it doesn't matter to me, I don't think it should matter to you all that much. Unless, as I say, you are really picky about this, then go and farm Corrupted. It's not bad of a farm anyways, to be honest. That's my information about Slammer. You can take the advice or you can not take the advice. It doesn't matter. As long as you've watched the video, that's good. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.